25 best bands from the UK. This was a tough one. This was harder than the American bands, quite honestly, because there were so many phenomenal bands at the beginning, but yet there continues to be. You think about this island and the amount of music that it's produced. It's incredible. Now, I had so much positive response from my 25 best US bands. I think a lot of response dealt with, do you really know what you're doing? What's wrong with your musical taste? There was a lot of people worried about my mental stability on the bands I picked. Well, guess what? If you're watching again, continue that, okay? Because, yeah. So I know Vinyl Richie did this. James Griffith, Mazzy had to do two parts. It was so difficult to do. And it really is. UK is tough. And I kind of listen to James Griffith and goes, it's not the greatest, it's the best. There's a difference between the greatest and the best. It's a fine line, but I'm going to go with the best. So here we go. I think these are all bands that have made a huge difference. There's way too many, and to rank them is very difficult. I'm going to just for the hell of it, just because it gets people more excited, What do you mean that's number one? What's wrong with you? What? That should be way up higher. So, yeah. Let's just do it for the fun of it. One that didn't make it, I will call it number 26 or whatever, but I think it's just important to say is the Stone Roses. It took me like 30 years to get into the Stone Roses, but when you think of all the bands from the 90s and the aughts and who they say was an inspiration, this is the album. That first Stone Roses. It made such a difference. So it needs to be said. They need to be shown because of that. It was that important. So let's begin with number 25. And I no doubt will lose count the whole time. So 25, Tears for Fears. They're not a prolific. They haven't put out tons of albums. But when they put one out, holy cow. Great songwriting, great instrumentation happening. And it's just hookier than all get out. You think of The Hurt, Songs for the Big Chair. We have this one here, Sowing the Seeds of Love. The one they put out last year was just everyone was raving about it. How could they not be one of the 25 best UK bands? The music is amazing. What they keep putting out, really good stuff, and this album is just killer. Number 24, I haven't lost count yet. Number 24, Electric Light Orchestra. For my Prague thing, I thought that's Prague. Okay. And just catchy stuff, I don't have a lot of Electric Light. I used to have almost all of it, but, as I'm rebuilding, I just got what I really, really needed. This is the main one. Greatest hits would be good, but this was my first Electric Light that I ever got, was this particular album with Tightrope, Telephone Rhyme, Rock Aria is on there. I just really like this album, but I do like Electric Light Orchestra, especially once they hit the 80s, not as much, but very, very important band. Number 24. That would bring us to number 23. See how this works? It goes in numerical order. Judas Priest. No, start the comments now. What do you mean? Why is that not higher? I only have a couple Judas Priests. I will say this. Judas Priest made wearing leather look cool. Okay? My God, talk about when they went into that leather, holy smokes. The Ramones had leather jackets. These guys went all out, and of course brought metal into the 80s. I think that's the important part, is here in the late 70s what they were doing and what they did, how they inspired so many bands going into the 80s. And I absolutely love this. Screaming for Vengeance. Wow, what a great song. So that's 23. That puts us at 22. Cream. And we're going to put 22 just for the fact that I like this album cover. I think this is one of the best album covers ever made. Just fantastic. Really looks good. But this is one of the very first super groups. You know, really, you think about that. What a super trio. I mean, talk about three guys that could do, I mean, that were all fantastic at what they did. It's just that also three Eagles that just really didn't get along that well. And they kept getting back together in different, little groups, not all together, but, like, hey, us two will do it, then you two. And God, it never worked out. But yeah, I definitely think that they should be right up there with number 23. I think it's 23, right? Yeah, no, oh, 22. Okay, number 21. Losing count already. 21. Last one is 22. Number 21, Blur. Inspired by the Stone Roses. They kind of started a little more psychedelic, but then they began coming in with the harder guitars and bringing back British rock, and Britpop was born. I think these guys were one of the forefathers of Britpop that really took off. Now the problem is they got labeled as Britpop, and they had to kind of change, especially going into the aughts, as Britpop lost favor with other things. UK does seem kind of finicky on trends at times, but this is my favorite Blur album, and I have a few others. It was a group that really caught my attention early, and I truly, they did important stuff. Number 21, Blur. Brings us to number 20. Number 20 is Joy Division. We couldn't have gloom and doom and scary lyrics and dark sounding music without Joy Division. It's just Joy Division. And then you listen to their music, and there's just not a lot of joy there. I think it's pretty darn funny, actually, how they named their group. But important stuff. You think the goth movement, what would goth be without Joy Division? Very important band out of the UK, number 20. Just such a sad ending. What is it, 3 albums and done and gone? Number 19. Kind of surprised. This probably should be up higher, but what the hey. Judas Priest is below it. But number 19 is Jesus and Mary Chain. I think was just so exciting is how they made this wall of noise, but underneath it were 60s melodies, 60s pop. These guys listened to the Beach Boys, you could tell that. But it was really, when you cut back those layers of distortion and pedals and that, and you really hear what they're doing, it's great. They put out a new album this year that was quite good. I really enjoyed it. So it's nice to see they're still doing it. They're not very prolific, but still making great music, and great enough to be at number 19. Number 18, The Waterboys. This album ranks as top 5 album of all time for me, but there was a lot more to The Waterboys than this one. This is kind of a one-off album for them. Their first couple albums were phenomenal as they made that big music. It just, they were bringing music kind of in a whole different direction. And if you've never listened to Waterboys, you're really missing out. Find their first couple albums. They're well worth listening to. This one, though, to me, is just the most beautiful mix of Irish music, traditional English music, and then putting it into rock, and it's just a pure album of joy and happiness. And so, which is why Waterboys, number 18. Number 17, let's talk prolific. Wire. This is their debut, Pink Flag. This band, talk about putting out albums, holy smokes. I mean, King Gizzard have put out more, and probably Guided by Voices, but still, these guys did a lot. But they took, so you had punk there, you had new wave happening, and they come in, and they just start bringing in, a whole different scene of music with their different tunings, with their just weird type of melodies, but just hard rockin' stuff. I mean, talk about alternative music. Wire really was it, and they just made incredibly good stuff. Fantastic group. This debut is just top notch, one of the best. Usually it's called punk, but this is more than punk. So Wired, number 18, which comes to number 17. And we have the Buzzcocks. Punk again, but yet more than punk. They're part of the movement. Fast songs, really quick, like fast cars. Yeah. 3 albums, I believe. But power pop punk, power pop punk. They are catchy, so darn catchy. And you can sing along to them. Great dancing too. Just fantastic stuff. I mean, what would it be without the Buzzcocks? I mean, what a fun name to say, Buzzcocks. Number 15, Oasis. Already lost count. Buzzcocks was 16. Oasis, I came late to Oasis. Sometimes you're in the desert for a very long time and it takes you a while to find an oasis. Well, I did finally find them. And listening to this more and more, I really appreciate this music and what they did. And it's nice to see that they are repressing a lot of their music now in very expensive deluxe type editions, which this is basically just straight black. That's all I really needed. But again, Britpop, huge part of Britpop, huge part of bringing rock and roll back into the music. When you think of what was going on with the dream pop, with the shoegaze, trip hop, with all the raves, here came the guitars, and they brought it back. And Blur, Oasis, and Suede really did a heck of a job with it. Oasis, 15. 14, Spaceman 3. These guys could make noise. But again, beneath all that feedback that was going on, there was music underneath it. You just have to sit and listen to it. This has become a favorite group of mine. It isn't like you can go out and hum one of their songs or sing along. You really can't. But it's just the sounds that they were making and what they were trying to do, and it was just so powerful, especially for 2 guys and what what was happening. In the 90s they split up. Spiritualized came about. In other groups, but really there was a lot of power happening with this, and a lot of shoegaze bands will credit Spaceman 3 along with a lot of noise rock and other things. A very important band when it comes to that. You can't forget about Spaceman 3. Number 14, which comes down to number 13, and we have World Party. Every World Party is it's catchy. They just the lyricism is wonderful. The instrumentation is incredible. You put this on and you feel good, but it's just, you can hum to this. You can snap your fingers to it. You can dance to it. You can do anything you want. It is so good. This is, again, one of my all-time favorite albums because it's earworm. It really is. But the other World Party albums are just incredibly fantastic. I think it's just one of the most wonderful groups that came out of the UK that to this day I'm still totally enamored with. Number 13, World Party. Number 12, Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull it was one of my favorite groups growing up. I love their music, especially their Elizabethan stage with Minstrel in the Gallery, Songs from the Woods, Heavy Horses. But there's so much more than that. I mean, they're also a heavy metal band. This won Best Heavy Metal Album in 1987. That's how good these guys are. They could do everything, including heavy metal. They beat out Metallica. Okay, that says something for Jethro Tull. But I love their music. I love the early blues stuff that they did. Aqualung, of course. They got some clunkers out there, but for the most part, I really enjoyed them. Seen them 3 times. It's a group I've seen more than most. I think I saw Steve Martin more, but it's phenomenal, and they still bring me a lot of happiness, and I think they're one of the best bands out of the UK. That's number 12. 11, The Smiths. A nice simple name, easy to remember. The Smiths. I'm not necessarily a Morrissey fan. I'm a Johnny Marr fan. Johnny Marr solo albums. And I was blown away by them. I thought, this is incredible. And I really went back to the Smiths. And I began listening to them. And what I really, really love is the guitar playing. I love Marr's guitar playing on there. It just, it's exciting. It's original. He's doing his own thing. Just incredible stuff. So yeah, the Smiths need to be right up there. Top 10 time. Let's do the top 10. Top 10 best bands from the UK. Cure. Just put out a new album. Look, I have my sales receipt on there. That's an original I just recently picked up. Not cheap to get an original of Cure. Yeah, great stuff. Cure, Kiss Me was my first Cure album. Before that, really didn't know a lot about them. Goth, talked about Joy Division inspired. But yeah, these guys have been out there. They've been original. And yeah, I just putting out great music, and their hair still looks. Robert Smith's hair hasn't changed a bit. I don't know how he keeps it. You would think you would lose your hair by putting all that stuff in it, but he doesn't. But if the music's still phenomenal, still very important on what he's putting out. And yeah, The Cure, number 10. Number 9, XTC, great group, quirky group. They a variety of different phases. When you listen to their music from the early 80s to the mid 80s to here to the 90s, this is my favorite XTC album, Lemons and Oranges, Oranges and Lemons. This is Beatlesque. If you like Beatles, how could you not like this album? I mean, they just went all Beatles on this thing. But their whole catalog is very good. Again, great songwriting, great, they're absolutely fantastic with their instruments, really good stuff. Why they're number 9. Puts us at number 8, and we'll put Black Sabbath. I am not a Black Sabbath fan, but I know the importance of Black Sabbath, okay? And so that's why I'm holding this. I own 2 Black Sabbath albums, this one and Paranoid. I don't feel I need to have any more. I don't mind them. But what they did for music is really, really important, obviously. And a lot of bands, again, use this as a model of where to start. And to this day, we'll still say Black Sabbath as being an important band that got them going. So that's why they're number 8. But number 7, Clash. Oh, damn, talk about power. Taking punk. But they evolved. So, we start with the punk, they get into the reggae with it, and they just kept pushing the boundaries. It would have been nice. I guess I'm kind of glad they broke up. I don't know where they would have gone. I mean, you just look at those first 4 albums, especially, and the power and just the excitement that was coming out of that band. After a while, though, you're just going to wear out. There's only so much that you can do, I think. But they're especially the first 4 albums of the Clash are just monumental and of extreme importance. What's one of the greatest bands out of the UK, obviously, in my opinion, the Clash. Puts us at number 6. One and done, but what a one, man. This didn't just turn the UK on their heads. This turned the world on their heads. This is one of those albums that had such impact. And to this, it still does. To me, it still sounds fresh. This music does not sound old to me whatsoever. I can put this on and just get pure excited. The adrenaline pumps. It's a thrill ride. This is a complete thrill ride of an album. And you talk about a group that inspired. Everybody wanted to start a band because of the Sex Pistols. And have spiky hair, and rip their clothes, and do everything else. Malcolm McLaren. There we go, Mr. Trendsetter. But Sex Pistols, number 5. Number 4. And you're going, well, gee, where's Where's those old groups, okay? Number 4 is The Who. I don't have a lot of Who albums. Again, my older collection, I had almost all The Who. Now I kind of pick and choose what I want. This is my first Who album I ever bought. Well, not this particular one, but this is the album. I love this album a lot, but of course, Who are the one where they're pissing on the rock. that's a great one. But yeah, rock, hard hitting rock. Peter Townshend's guitars, incredible. Daltrey's vocals. I mean, and Keith Moon. What a super group. Just incredibly good. So that's actually, I think this is number 5. See, I've already lost count. This is number 5. When I say Sixpus, it doesn't matter. We're way off base anyway. But this is number 5, The Who. Number 4. It's easier now because I only have a couple albums left to look at. But number 4, Led Zeppelin. My favorite Led Zeppelin album. Presence. This is the first Led Zeppelin I ever bought, which is why it sticks in my brain as being my favorite, though I really do love Led Zeppelin 4. I love all Led Zeppelin. I mean, I can put them on. To me, it's still fun to listen to. The music's great, from whether it's be a ballad. I'm not a big ballad guy. Led Zeppelin could do it right. Robert Plant's voice is incredible, and it still sounds good. When I saw him at Red Rocks, it was just phenomenal. So I really, Number 4, without a doubt, Led Zeppelin. Number 3, Pink Floyd. All right, this is a group I have almost everything of, and I have so many bootlegs of it. I have multiple copies of it. It's one of my all-time favorite groups. It's more favorite than 1 and 2. The music that they made. Dark Side of the Moon. Come on. How many of these sold, whether you like it or not? The fact is, the world loves it. The Wall, world loves it. I'm not a big fan of it, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. I just, fantastic. Their early stuff, I've really become a huge fan of. Their first few albums, I think, are incredible, all the way up to Echoes. Incredible stuff. What would the world be without Pink Floyd? Amazing stuff. Number 3. Brings us to number 2. Kind of easy to start doing. You can kind of guess already what 1 and 2 are, right? Number 2 is the Beatles. Yeah, they're not number 1. The Beatles. Massive impact. Yeah, what's to talk about? Yeah. Everyone, again, one of those groups, everyone wanted to start a band. Every band suddenly had to change. Everything that was going on within the music world switched, changed. Oh my God, look at this. Look at the chicks they get. The music, and they kept changing the music and going, pushing the boundaries of music. They really did. That's why there are so many Beatles just channels within YouTube that are devoted to the Beatles, and for a very good reason why. It's what they did. But that's number 2. Number 1, it's going to be the Rolling Stones. And I put the Stones over the Beatles because the Stones are still going. They're still out there. They're still making music. To me, that is the greatest. They haven't quit, and they're still making great stuff. Look at this Stones album that came out this year. I didn't personally buy it, but everyone's saying this is fantastic. This is one of the best Stones albums in the world. These guys are like in their 80s, and people are saying that. Can you believe that? How could they not be over the Beatles? And they've kept together. Yeah, they fight. Yeah, they don't agree. But the fact is, they've stayed together. They figured it out, and they're still making new music. Rolling Stones, we salute you. Number 1. There we go. Feel free to send me what your list is. Try to be reverent in your comments. You don't have to be, though. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. But this was fun to do. It's difficult. This was very, very difficult. Much harder than UK. You go, hey, where's the Kinks? Well, you're right. There's no Kinks in there. King Crimson or Emerson Lake Palmer and all that. They're not in there. You're right. You can't put everybody in there. These are the ones to me have made a big impact to me, or ones I've seen have made a big impact overall. So thanks for watching this, and yeah, doing this. I don't know if Richie just did best solo albums. I mean, best solo artist in the U.S. Oh, that guy! I'm telling you, when he gets going, he gets going. I don't know if I'll do that one or not. I may, just because I like him. I like Lionel Richie, so. Oh, well, we'll see. But thanks, everyone. Have a great one. I got a store tour coming up on Thursday. It's like, wow, wow, look at that. So check it out. Bye.